Welcome back to the NRB 2014. David Deanna is your host, and I'm with Mr. Bob Russell. How are you doing, sir?
Good, David. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad to have him here. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm running a little late. Like, it's never a problem. We always have time for longevity in the ministry. You know, I did a sermon and a TV show and a radio show on longevity.
Did you?
And it's amazing to see that the great men of faith just continue moving in faith. No scandals, no problems, that just move with greatness.
Thank you.
And I got to say, you're one of them.
I was at the same church for 40 years. I started at Southeast Christian Church in Louisville, Kentucky when I was 22 years old, and then I resigned when I was 62 and a half. I went into retirement. But I didn't go into retirement to quit. I just wanted to have another chapter of my life out there where I could do some different things.
Oh, absolutely. So it seems that you're getting even busier in your retirement stage.
Well, I'm doing some things that I didn't anticipate doing, like this movie we're talking about, Acts of God.
Okay.
That City on a Hill Productions out of Louisville, Kentucky has produced out in conjunction with Trinity Broadcast Company.
Wow, those are two big fish.
Yeah. Well, the purpose of the movie is to try to deal with the question of why God permits suffering in the world. And that's a question that so many people ask. If there is a loving God and He's all-powerful, why does He let innocent people suffer?
Ooh.
And so that's what this movie is about. There's also accompanying a small group study that goes along with it for churches.
Okay.
Sermon series. I've written a book
on
Acts of
DVD
God,
or?
And they are in DVD form, yes.
And I know you have bobrussell.org. Tell us about that, because there's a lot of information on that site. I went to look at it, and you have a lot of good material on there.
Yeah, when I went into retirement, I started writing a blog, and then I developed this Facebook page and bobrussell.org, in which gives some information about this movie and some information about some of the books that are available too.
It's amazing. So what are some of the questions that you try to answer in Acts of God?
Well, the movie deals with 3 or 4 different kinds of tragedies that occur in some lives that are interwoven with each other. One girl is struggling with cancer, terminal cancer. Another girl in the movie has a little child who is killed in an automobile accident. Another girl is dealing with infertility. Her husband is a doctor, and he's really frustrated because he can't heal every situation. And there's a sheriff in the movie who's suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome. And the movie kind of interweaves these stories, and it shows the various reactions that people have to suffering. Some get angry at God.
Yeah. Yep.
Some try to deny it by humor. Some just say, I'm going to handle it, I don't need God. And each of these ways are insufficient. And in the end, though the movie's a heavy film and a serious film, in the end, it comes out with hope.
Wow.
That I have the power to forgive. Even though I don't understand, I still believe that there's a God. You know, David, most of the time when people suffer, they don't need a long theological explanation.
True.
They need emotional identification. They need to see there's somebody else who went through something like I went through, and yet they held on to their faith. They still believed in God. If they can do it, I can do it too. So one of the things I like about this movie is it's very realistic. It's not all wrapped up and everything's rosy at the end of 30 minutes. And the small group study that's kind of based on this film, we focus on the life of Joseph in the Old Testament.
Wow.
Usually when we think about suffering, we look at the life of Job.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
Joseph is a man who, in the Bible, went through a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, a lot of unexplained circumstances. When he got thrown into the jail, there was not a Gideon in the Bible in the corner that showed him the end result in the chapter. So he had all he could do. What God asked us to do, I think, when we're suffering, He doesn't give us an answer. He just asks us to trust Him and to wait. And that's what the people in the movie eventually wind up doing, though it's not easy to get there.
Now, how long ago did you write the book?
Well, I wrote the book just this past year. It's being released by Moody Press in April.
On April, okay. So, and then the Acts of God movie, when is that?
The movie kind of preceded the book.
Oh, that's kind of different.
Yes.
Usually it's the book and then
no,
the movie. Yeah. So you wrote, so that you had the idea, and they took it from.
TBN asked City on a Hill Productions if they would do a movie about why tragedies happen, and then City on a Hill said, "Would you help us? Would you do the small group study about tragedy, or pain. And that's when I thought, we began to connect together. That's when I thought, well, I'll do Joseph, on the life of Joseph. And they really liked that idea, and that became the germ or the genesis of the whole movie.
That's awesome. And then so you obviously pastoring for 40 years at the same church, you've seen a lot of people come through that needed a lot of counseling and just that reaffirmation of love, that things are going to be all right and stuff. So I'm sure you had a lot of ideas and of what to put into this book.
No question. And some of the scenes I said, can I reword this to say? Then they said, if you're going to do the teaching part of it, there's a little role for a preacher in the movie. Would you play the role of the preacher?
Yeah, this was your debut, right?
In my debut as an actor.
Tell us about this. How was acting for you? Did you feel kind of...
I was very uncomfortable at first.
Oh, wow. Now you've done TV interviews and you were on television as well, right?
This kind of thing, sometimes.
Okay.
But this is different.
Okay.
But once I got into it, I really liked it. Because, as you mentioned, I have been in those situations so many times.
Oh, yeah.
I've probably seen the movies all the way through 7 or 8 times, but every time I see it, I tear up because it is a touching movie.
That's awesome.
But also because I can almost call by name the people who are in that circumstance and facing those kinds of issues and sitting across my desk, or I was in their living room, and it just brings back memories of some very real people, some real pain, but some people who, for the most part, got through the other end of it and held on to their faith in God.
Oh, wow. So how long were your acting spots in there? I mean, were they pretty long in the movie? Were you recurring all the time?
Yeah, I keep popping up here and there. But in one scene, for example, I go to the home of this woman whose little girl has been killed in the automobile accident, and she's angry at God. And she won't even let me in the house. And she stands and argues with me a little bit at the door.
Wow, I think I've been there too as a minister. And you're inviting me.
She says, you're going to tell me that God doesn't give us more than we can bear, aren't you? Well, I'm not going to tell you that. And so we have this dialogue at the door, and finally she is so angry, she slams the door. And I turn and walk away. And that's a frustrating experience for pastors.
Oh, absolutely.
And because we don't have all the answers.
No, we don't.
And, I've shown this film to local guys who are pastors of local churches, and I say, this can help you. And they jump at the chance. I was in Greenwood, Mississippi 2 weekends ago, and the preacher of a large Baptist church there showed the movie on Saturday night and Sunday night to his church, and then asked me to preach on why suffering on Sunday morning. He's going to do a series of 6 sermons. They're going to do the small group studies, make the book available, and hopefully equip their people to be ready when suffering comes to them, or be ready to give an answer when people ask why they hurt. I think that's probably the best venue for this movie, is that kind of opportunity to be shown in churches.
Absolutely, that's the new move that we need to start acting in, is putting movies out there. They're going to create group studies, and because everybody likes movies.
Yes.
I mean, everybody. There's always family night. Someone's always going to a movie. But if we can put films out there like this one that create a topic.
Well, David, when they asked me, would you play the role of the preacher in Acts of God? I said, well, I'll try, but I'll tell you what, if I am hokey, tell me. I don't want to be hokey.
Yeah.
You're not going to hurt my feelings. But you know what? The movie is not hokey. The movie is well produced. It is well acted, other than my role perhaps. But it really is well done.
Amen.
And I know Christian people come out of there saying, wow, that's a really intense movie, but it really helped me because I can identify with the characters in the film.
Amen. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Good talking to you.
Very good. And you can go to actsofgodthemovie.com, and you can also go to bobrussell.org for more information on what they do. We'll be back with another great guest. Thank you again.
Thanks, Dave.